to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Mariel Soriano, delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region. On today's headlines, the UN Human Rights Council voted Thursday to set up a panel to prepare criminal indictments over atrocities committed in Myanmar amid allegations of genocide against the Rohingya minority. Canada's parliament voted unanimously to effectively strip Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi of her honorary Canadian citizenship over the Rohingya crisis. And an interview with DNR's Jocelina Gorospe and PEMC's Renato Cardinal. They will talk about the 2018 East Asian Seas Congress, and that will be hosted by the Philippines in November. The UN Human Rights Council voted Thursday to set up a panel to prepare criminal indictments over atrocities committed in Myanmar amid allegations of genocide against the Rohingya minority. The top UN rights body voted to, quote, establish an ongoing independent mechanism to collect, consolidate, preserve, and analyze evidence of the most serious international crimes and violations of international law committed in Myanmar since 2011. The text, a collaboration between the European Union and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, or OIC, says the panel will be responsible for preparing files, quote, in order to facilitate and expedite fair and independent criminal proceedings in national, regional, or international courts or tribunals. 35 of the Council's 47 members voted in favor of the resolution, and only 3, China, the Philippines, and Burundi, voted against. The remainder either abstained or refrained from casting a vote. The Council's decision, which was immediately hailed by Amnesty, Human Rights Watch, and other rights groups, will go to the UN General Assembly in New York for final approval. The text was presented after a damning report was released to the Council earlier this month, outlining in meticulous and searing detail atrocities against the Rohingya, who filed a violent military campaign that started in August last year. Meanwhile, Canada's parliament voted unanimously to effectively strip Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi of her honorary Canadian citizenship over the Rohingya crisis. Ottawa had given the long-detained democracy advocate and Nobel laureate the rare honor in 2007, but her international reputation has become tarnished by her refusal to call out the atrocities by her nation's military against the Rohingya Muslims minority, which Ottawa last week declared a genocide. A brutal military campaign that started last year drove more than 700,000 Rohingya Muslims from Myanmar into neighboring Bangladesh, where they now live in camped refugee camps, fearful to returning to mainly Buddhist Myanmar despite a repatriation deal. Many have given accounts of extrajudicial killings, sexual violence, and arson. Suu Kyi's democratically elected government remains in a delicate power balance with the generals, whose presence in parliament gives them an effective veto on constitutional changes. Adam Austin, spokesman for Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland, he said, "We will continue to support the Rohingyas by providing humanitarian assistance, imposing sanctions against Myanmar's generals, and demanding that those responsible be held accountable before a competent international body," he added. Honorary Canadian citizenship has only been granted to 5 others, including the Dalai Lama, girls' education advocates Malala Yousafzai, and Nelson Mandela. A Malaysian woman was sentenced Thursday to be caned and jailed for 6 months for prostitution in violation of Islamic laws, weeks after the flogging of 2 lesbians. The 30-year-old single mother of one admitted to offering sexual services in a hotel in the conservative northern state of Terengganu this month after being caught by religious enforcement officers. Multi-ethnic Malaysia has a dual-track legal system, with Muslims subject to Islamic laws in certain areas. Critics say a traditionally tolerant brand of Islam in the Muslim-majority country is being eroded as more conservative attitudes gain ground. Sentencing the divorcee to 6 strokes of the cane and jail time, Judge Rosdi Harun told an Islamic court that he was, quote, very disappointed. The woman had not shown any remorse. The woman, who was not identified, has 14 days to appeal against the sentence. If the caning goes ahead, it will take place in the prison where she is serving her sentence. Indonesia hiked interest rates again Thursday in a bid to shield the slumping rupiah from an emerging market sell-off, with the unit at levels last seen during the late 90s Asian financial crisis. Bank Indonesia raised its key rate by 25 basis points to 5.75%, its fifth rise since May, after the government said it was taking other measures to protect the weak currency. The move comes 2 weeks before the world's financial elite gather in the holiday island Bali for the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, and World Bank's annual meetings, where currencies and trade tensions are expected to dominate talks. Bank Indonesia's decision also followed the U.S. Central Bank on Wednesday, raising rates for the 3rd time this year, as it cited an increasingly strong economy and jobs market. Investors have been dumping emerging market currencies, including the rupiah, as rising U.S. rates prompt them to flock to dollar-denominated assets in search of better returns. There are growing concerns about a U.S.-China trade war, and emerging markets have also been battered recently by fears of contagion from crises in Turkey, Argentina, and South Africa, as a stronger dollar makes it harder for them to repay debts. The rupiah is down about 10% this year, trading at 14,914 against the dollar on Thursday.
Visiting the Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination, but oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. species that you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
We have special guests today here on ASEAN in Focus. They're Ms. Joslina Gorospe, the Project Evaluation Officer 5, Project Monitoring Evaluation Division of the Foreign Assisted and Special Project Services from the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DNR, and Mr. Renato Cardinal. He's the Program Manager, Knowledge Management and Certification Service of PEMC, or Partnerships in Environmental Management for the Seas of East Asia. Welcome on the show, ma'am and sir.
Thank you.
The Philippines is hosting the 2018 East Asian Seas Congress in Iloilo City. The event is jointly organized by the DNR and the Partnerships in Environmental Management for the Seas of East Asia, or PEMC. Ma'am, sir, can you tell us about the event and how your respective offices are involved in it?
Okay. So, actually, the PEMC and the DNR has been a long time having a partnership on coastal and oceans governance. So with now we're looking at the organization of the East Asian Seas Congress. It's a triennial activity, and we've been involved there since 2003. So we're now having that for 2018.
The East Asian Seas Congress is the premier event for the coast and ocean. This is an event where representatives from national government, local government, international organization, and other non-government organization converge and share ideas to be able to develop policies, partnerships, and also look for investments for sustainable development for the Seas of East Asia. So as Lindy said earlier, this is an event that only happens every 3 years. So the first Congress was held in Malaysia in 2003. The second was held in China in 2006. The third Congress was held in Manila, Philippines. The fourth was held in Changwon, Korea. The fifth, which happened 3 years ago, was held in Da Nang. And this time, since PEMC is celebrating its 25th year as an organization, as an international organization, we will conduct the event here also in the Philippines, which is hosting the office of PEMC.
That's for the anniversary of PEMC. And I have seen that aside from the Philippines, there are other countries who will be participating. Which countries are these participating in the event on November?
Actually, PEMC has 11 country partners here on East Asia. So if we look at it geographically, it's composed of Japan, North Korea, South Korea, China, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Indonesia, Timor-Leste, Singapore, Philippines. Although Thailand and Malaysia is not formal signatory of PEMC, we have active projects that are ongoing in Thailand and Malaysia. these countries will attend the Congress together with representatives from other regions, no? Including international organizations like United Nations, IMO, and all the other organizations that have initiatives related to sustainable development.
So those organizations, they are the non-country members of PEMC?
PEMC has more than 20 non-country partners, no, which is basically composed of international organizations and national organizations from countries here in the region.
All these organizations are focused on the environmental development?
Yes, and sustainable development for the Seas of East Asia.
What are the activities lined up that the delegates are foreseeing for the November event?
For the November event, we have list down several activities. Namely, we have plenary activities which would involve keynote speeches from several high-profile representatives talking about climate and resilience, finance, and then we also have partnership hubs, which is organized by the members that you said earlier. We have several topics related to pollution, climate change, water, industry, and financing, which is one of the focus of ensuring sustainable development.
There will also be an exhibit, an environmental exhibit to be joined also by our partner countries and non-partner countries.
Yes. There will also be a youth forum. One of the key initiatives of PEMC and DENR is to host the youth from the different countries in the region. At the moment, we have about 70 participants coming from the countries in the region. We will have a forum for them which they can also share the ideas and learn from the experiences from other countries.
Among these topics that you enumerated, sir and ma'am, which is the highlights of the November event?
For the November event, one of the highlight also is the Ministerial Forum. No? The Ministerial Forum is actually the commitment coming from the different countries in the region. Each country signifies their commitment, especially for this time, which is focused on increasing the coverage for integrated coastal management. The integrated coastal management is the mechanism that we use for implementing the sustainable development strategy for the Seas of East Asia. And one of the key focus of the countries is to increase the coverage of implementing integrated coastal management to 25%. We have a very long coastline in the East Asia. Indonesia and Philippines are number 1 and number 2 in the length of coastline. Yes. So in terms of coverage, the objective of the countries in the region is to cover 25% of these countries coming from the East Asia region to implement integrated coastal management.
Following up on that question, sir, what do you think, or what is the mandate that the Philippines can share in terms of its projects and its goals in sustainable development?
Yes. For one, we have projects and programs and projects, including that we discussed earlier, that the coastal cleanup. So we have several projects on integrated coastal management. Although we have a long way to go in, for example, in the Manila Bay area, we really have to find focus and more efforts in the cleanup of our rivers, and not only that, because that is a showcase of the Metro Manila. But our programs on integrated coastal management, this covers the whole country. So this our different municipalities are involved. They have their own coastal management plans, and we hope that they'll be able to implement that and contribute to the overall mandate of us contributing to the sustainable management of our seas.
To add to that, just an example, they have actually implemented integrated coastal management in the province of Batangas, Bataan, Cavite, and in Guimaras. So these local governments have implemented the integrated coastal management. Most of the time, the way to address the problem in coastal area is sectoral, like specific on fisheries or industry. But the integrated coastal management being implemented in the local government actually focuses on how to integrate all the aspects and sustainable development programs within the local government and within the province that are implementing integrated coastal management.
I think one of the highlights in the during the Congress is the visit to the Guimaras Island and the experience of the Guimaras in the coastal cleanup. As we all know, they had an oil spill experience. It was very hard for the province. So they'll be sharing their experience and how they were able to cope up and rehabilitate the coastal areas of Guimaras.
Earlier before the program, we were talking that I was able to deliver, I think, 1 or 3 news items about coastal cleanup in different areas in the country. How can you say, or what is the current state of coastal cleanup and coastal management in our country?
I think there's already an increased awareness that we really have to keep our coastal areas clean and even our foreshore areas. But it's a long way since this is cleanup of the coastal areas is a transboundary issue also. So now really have to look at what are the sources of debris, coastal debris. But the point is now that people are now conscious on the management of wastes and how they dispose, how we dispose our waste. It's still a long way, but the awareness is there, and there are now a series of coastal cleanups from different sectors of our society.
As part of that awareness campaign, ma'am, what is the concept of blue economy, and how will it help to improve the lives or everyday lives of the Filipinos?
The blue economy concept actually stems from the industries that are derived from coastal and marine resources. But it went beyond the concept of business as usual. The implementation of blue economy focuses on implementing environmentally friendly, social, and economically sustainable industries within the coastal area. So the focus is to ensure that we also safeguard the environment, not only deriving benefit from it, but to ensure that we sustain the quality and the economy of these coastal areas and marine resources.
Okay, sir. An important output of the Congress is the ministerial declaration. So, as you discussed, this will be the main highlights of the event. What can we expect from the declaration?
From the declaration, one of the initial discussion that the countries are have conducted is focused on ensuring that we increase the coverage for integrated coastal management. The integrated coastal management is the backbone for ensuring that we implement the sustainable development strategy for the seas of East Asia. And at the moment, we are close to 20% coverage. The target is to achieve 25% coverage for integrated coastal management. And in addition to that, there are also commitments related to marine debris, marine plastics, implementation of programs related to pollution prevention, and also blue economy.
So if I may add, the ministerial declaration is trying to solicit the commitment of each member country. In fact, if it can be broadened to other countries. And of course, we want to look at meaningful solutions so that we will also have meaningful impacts. So we really have to have these felt impacts that there's a change, not only in the awareness of the people on how they do things and how we dispose our garbage, how we take care of our environment.
Thank you very much, ma'am and sir. Ma'am Jaslina Gorospe, Project Evaluation Officer 5, Project Monitoring and Evaluation Division Foreign Assisted and Special Project Service of the DNR, and Sir Renato Cardinal Program Manager, Knowledge Management and Certification Service of the PEMC. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Mariel Soriano, and I am 1 with 25.